Well, hello, everybody. This is another edition of Torn Tuesday. And aren't we lucky to be here? Welcome, everybody, to the OneRing.net. Every week, we're here at 5 o'clock p.m., trying to make sense of things, trying to make sense of the world that we live in. But more specifically, we're going to have guest panelists with lots of great analysis and opinions to, to which we will apply all of their wonderful efforts and take a look at the wild 4chan leaks that came out about season 2 of The Rings of Power. And we will be investigating more of those little weird rumors. We're going to talk about them, and we're going to, either dismiss them as garbage, or we're going to embrace them as saying, oh, geez, this might really be the reality. And so we welcome everybody to, everybody out there in the whole world, including Twitch, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and all the wonderful people on different platforms on YouTube as well, joining us now live in this chat conversation. And it is great to have everyone here. Allow me to introduce some of these wonderful folks who are surrounding us. To one side of me, I'm not sure where, there will be Josh Rubenstein, who is
Hello.
the creator and video mastermind of Torn Book Club, our YouTube series. Super cool stuff. We also have right next to us Kathy Udoch. Welcome, Kathy, who helps us do big parties, events, and organization for a lot of our convention appearances, including wonderful WonderCon coming up in Anaheim this spring.
Waiting. I'm
And
waiting. They've closed submissions. I'm waiting.
yes, that's right. We've got also the OneRing.net showing up as panel presenters at San Diego Comic-Con, and Kathy helps us out with all of that. Not the, excuse me while I roll down the volume on my phone.
Yeah, turn
Last
off the
but not
volume
least,
on your phone. That's the first
there's our
rule. Hello, everybody.
wonderful,
I did it
Welcome.
online.
there's our wonderful co-host, Justin. Welcome, Justin. Nice to have you here with us. Here we
We
are.
have so many leaks to go through. Last week, we reported these leaks 2 weeks ago. Last week, Cliff and I went through the big ones and explained why they may be accurate. And we explained in great detail that took 2.5 hours the underpinnings of a lot of this information and why we felt confident in reporting it, not just because it's a 4chan leak and we all have opinions about 4chan and its accuracy. But last week, our extra long episode gave you all of the behind the scenes details that we're allowed to give to prove that these things might be accurate. So today, we're going to go through the entire bullet list of 30 new leaks, and we're going to, as a panel, because we've been doing this so long as the OneRing.net, through Peter Jackson movies, through Hobbit movies, through season 1 of Rings of Power, and now with these season 2 leaks, we're going to rate them, whether it's thumbs up, we think it's accurate, even though we might not like them, thumbs down, this is no way this is happening. And then we're going to have a red flag for anything that we think is probably plausible, but they better not do it because we will turn off the show. So before we get going, I just wanted to take a quick look back. Again, you can go to the OneRing.net front page with this new spy report of season 2 leaks and rumors. But before we do that, Cliff, I thought we'd quickly just review season 1's 20 new leaks and rumors that we reported in July of 2021. This was a year and a half before the first season even aired. So like a longer lead time to season 1. This is before we even knew the title of the show was going to be Rings of Power. It was still just called Amazon's Lord of the Rings, but we got a doozy of leaks, including
We did.
The first bullet point here, Cliff, is confirmed for the first time ever. Elements and passages from the Silmarillion and Unfinished Tales are licensed by Amazon Studios. Was that accurate?
Yes.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah. It felt very much so.
Bullet point number 2. Amazon does have merchandising rights. That was not accurate. We still don't have any merch, do we, Kathy?
Not
We have, and then the next 2 bullet points are that 3 lore experts and Tolkien scholars were on set for a time during production. That proved accurate, and the 3 scholars were Patrick McCain, J.D. Payne, and Simon Tolkien. And the 4th bullet point here, the Tolkien estate is said to be very happy with how things are progressing. And Cliff, I think we reported that about a month ago that the Tolkien estate is Simon Tolkien, and he is very happy with how things are going, isn't he?
Yes, that would explain why the Tolkien estate was happy, because they were moving forward quite aggressively with, his own personally sanctioned storylines in the Second Age. Let's put it that way. Okay.
That's right. And then a couple of the big bullet points again from the season 1 leak a year and a half before season 1 even aired. It says scripts are only digitally shared among actors under draconian control mechanisms. That proved true. J.A. Bayona's episodes are standalone entry point to the series like a feature film. That proved true.
Can we just congratulate J.A. Bayona and the 2 Oscar nominations that his film got?
Yes, congrats. Society of the Snow is J.A. Bayona's big Oscar-nominated feature, and we hope he wins. Other bullet points. Lord of the Rings and Wheel of Time are sharing crew and directors. This is true. Charlotte Brandstrom worked on Wheel of Time, and now she's working on season 2 as well. They are aiming for a mid-2022 release. That proved accurate. It came out at the end of August, which is mid-2002. This was the first time anyone ever reported that some halflings are dark-skinned precursors to Shire hobbits, maybe Harfoots. Cliff, that was the most accurate leak we've ever had.
Yes, indeed it was. Until some of these leaks we just got last week.
Also in this list...
well, we'll get to that.
Also on this list, Lenny Henry portrays one of the Harfoots. Accurate. Celebrimbor, the Ringmaker, has been recast.
Totally
that
true.
Was accurate. Tom Budge was replaced in that role. Certain creatures are referred to as ice trolls because they don't have the rights to cave trolls. That proved true. Nudity.
That's intriguing, isn't it?
Nudity is sparse and not sexualized. There was no nudity.
There was no nudity.
And I bring this one up because nudity has resurfaced its ugly head in the new season 2 rumors. Elves will have short hair. This was a huge bullet point that we already knew would divide the fandom. And sure enough, it still divides.
Sure did.
as if that mattered. I mean, I'm telling you, the hardcore metaphysics and the spiritual dimension of what Tolkien wrote is far more important than somebody's haircut. But that's just one man's opinion.
Amen. Sauron will not be revealed in season 1. That was a big scoop that we had. Cliff, that was almost proven true. I mean, he basically wasn't until the final seconds.
He wasn't until the very last minutes of the last episode. So he wasn't revealed.
So basically, we those leaks, those 20 leaks that we reported a year and a half, mostly proved accurate. A couple of them were way off.
Okay, so, I'd say what do we do, about 16 correct out of 20, maybe? Something like that.
That's pretty good. So
maybe 17.
When it came to these season 2 rumors, as we said last week, and we gave you guys the proof that we had, a lot of these rumors that were on 4chan may prove true. Of course, anything can change in the edit. They could replace an entire actor, just like they did Celebrimbor last season. So anything can change in the edit. So what we were going to do here is we're going to go through these bullet points, and we're going to decide as a group, are these true? Are these false? And are these red flags that we think are true, but we don't want them to be? So let's get to it. Let me bring this up here.
Okay.
And transition. All right, let's go full screen on this.
Oh dear.
Number one.
Here we go.
Amazon has newly expanded rights to plot points from the Silmarillion, and Simon Tolkien is personally involved in overseeing this show's expansion of the mythology. What do you guys think? True?
I think that's definitely true.
Yeah, that's for sure true.
Absolutely. And maybe it was just anticipated in a different way on our first season, but with some small little bits, maybe 2 or 3 seconds of, the War of Wrath and the little bits we saw of the two trees and Tyrion and that beautiful landscape. I mean, we saw little glimpses of the Silmarillion material that were allowed to be in some of those bits. And so that was the first clue that going forward, they might just piece by piece expand more and more storytelling from the Silmarillion. And here we go.
And the fact that Simon Tolkien was at one of the premiere events kind of shows that at least there's more involvement.
Yeah.
Yep.
So yeah. I think this is accurate, and I don't think it's a full carte blanche to the Silmarillion. I think they are just...
Well, yeah, that's an important distinction, Justin. I'm glad you said that.
And again, I'm glad we just looked at season 1 rumors, because what was the first bullet point rumor from season 1? That Amazon had rights to the Silmarillion. And turns out the entire prologue to the entire series had some crazy stuff that we never expected, like the Light of the Two Trees. So it's not too far-fetched, and this is a good first bullet point because it sets up the next few. So let's... And
that image of the two trees, that was one of the very first images they pushed out, blew everyone's mind. Because everyone thought they would have so much more, and it was still just, you're right, just a tidbit.
Boy, did we have special show just talking about that one image of Tyrion and the hillsides. Boy, we talked about that. That was such a moment. That was such a moment, I guess, in fandom, because nothing else had ever shown any bits or bobs from the Silmarillion before. And it was a gasp-inducing moment for the fandom. And I dare say, at the end of our hindsight now, it was the smartest piece of their marketing strategy that they had done at that point, was to show that.
All right.
What's funny is, if you think about it, we'd seen the two trees before on a banner in Arwen's room. That there was
that's right. Yeah, in the background. Yeah.
All right. The next bullet points. Season 2 is mainly Sauron's story told from his perspective and opens with his retelling of history. Episode 1 is primarily Sauron's story leading up to the breaking of the first silence.
Yeah.
Thoughts on this, Cliff?
Yeah, I believe that I didn't want to believe it before, but I thoroughly believe that they would do this now. And it might be a response to the way that people were kind of ticked off about the mystery boxing of Sauron. And now they're going to start season 2 with much, much more disclosure. In fact, they're not going to mystery box Sauron. They're going to, at least in this regard, have the opening of the season be everything from his point of view. Everything that was withheld from season 1 now might be just piled into this one big banger of an opening season premiere, all from his perspective and his point of view. I'm very willing to believe this. What do you guys think?
Oh yeah, for sure, I'm willing to believe this, and I'm actually kind of intrigued by seeing these things from Sauron's perspective, because it kind of gives the writers a little bit of leeway, because they can sort of change things to make Sauron an unreliable narrator.
Yes.
Which would be actually kind of cool to see.
And And all right, so Cliff, what is the breaking of the first silence? Because I have forgotten. I mean, I did finally make it my way through Silmarillion last year, but and Aaron out the other.
Well,
I think we're going to get into that on the next leak.
Yeah,
we will. We're going to get into that definitely.
I'm just wondering what can be shown of, because that's Silmarillion material, isn't it?
Unless
it is
from his.
It is, but there was a lot in those first 2 episodes that were also Silmarillion material. So it's kind of like they can sort of cherry pick certain things based on like what they have the rights to, or I guess I don't know, like Cliff, Justin,
if you
probably
make it from
like
Sauron's perspective, it doesn't necessarily have to be truly what happened in the Silmarillion.
Well, yeah,
it's his view of it, and therefore.
Yeah, but like certain broad strokes, like would have to be like, okay, we need the rights for this bit from the Silmarillion. Like, if we're gonna do like the music of the Ainur, then you need the music from or you need the rights to that.
Yeah. All right. So we've determined it's most likely true. Everything that sets up this next big part of the leak, and let's go full screen on this. Season 2, episode 1 opens with Eru using the secret flame to create Melkor, aka Morgoth. Melkor then watches as Eru creates all of the Valar and the Maiar. Eru is a disembodied voice, vaguely human-shaped, but no characteristics can be made out. The secret flame is golden, as are all the Valar and the Maiar. And the Valar are larger than the Maiar, but are bathed in a golden light and completely naked. All right. This is a lot to chew off. This is a huge opening scene. This is on the scale of what season 1 opened with. So let's first off, I guess, do we think that Amazon will take a big swing at an opening scene like this?
I think so.
Will there be music, or is the music after they all exist?
The music is after they are created.
So this will be sort of a silent thing, but visually with images of beings coming together out of the light.
Yeah,
golden light.
Yeah, this is like this is the creation of the universe out of nothing, pretty much.
Cliff, questions from the chat room. 1, was Melkor created separately from the others in the book? And 2, how would this advance the story of the Second Age?
Well, I don't. Well, Melkor wasn't created separately in the sense of like, oh, here's the first one, and then we'll just make lots and lots of other Valar after that. Josh, you can back me up on that. Am I to understand that these beings were all component together at the same time?
I believe they were all created at the same time, but I know that Melkor had like a certain kind of he was designated as like the smartest and the wisest of them all, so it could stand a reason that he came first.
It might just be that he became sentient first.
Well, no, they were all sentient when they were created.
Are there any red flags in this description of an opening scene?
I love the idea of Eru being just a disembodied voice, and like the thunderclap of the sound of God type of thing, or whether he's saying anything. I don't know if he's saying anything. Well, disembodied voice, he has to be talking.
Yeah. I do like. Now, you guys understand how deeply Roman Catholic Professor Tolkien was, and this is so dramatically there. It's very much visible and understandable in the Ainulindale, in the music of the Ainur, because in this creation myth, Professor Tolkien is playing on a riff of the King James version of the very opening of the Bible itself in Genesis, where it says, "In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God." And this is the suggestion to Tolkien, as many other spiritual academics have studied over many years, and other Bible scholars. But the idea that the word would be spoken is translated to Tolkien's creation idea that the music would be played. It is the sound. The creation myth of music matches up in a loose analog with the creation myth of the word being spoken, and that brought everything into creation. And there is a lot of alignment that I see with this type of thing in the music of Ainur.
Let there be light, because light was life. So
all right, so we like this. We like the idea of the light is golden compared
thank you,
to
Keith.
this.
That is correct. I was quoting John. That's right. I was quoting the Gospel of John. That is what I was quoting. Correct. Go ahead, please.
I love this chat room. So we like that the light is golden. We it's okay if Melkor comes first. Do we like this? And we think it's definitely plausible that they would do this.
I like it for the most part. Yeah.
Well, do they want the audience to go forward through the entire season, understanding this deep mythological background of these characters in a new way, and that also includes the way the stranger / Gandalf is presented through the rest of the season. Go ahead, please.
Yeah.
All right.
No, go ahead. Yeah.
No.
I wasn't really going to add anything substantial to the conversation, so go ahead.
All right. Well, I just want to red flag that bottom, the last sentence here, are bathed in the golden light and completely naked. Cliff, you wrote a wonderful essay on nudity and Tolkien. We made a big stink about the potential of any nudity in this show and how antithesis to Tolkien. So in this context, I guess I need you to respond to this. This leak says we're going to get nudity, like it or not. Are you on board, Cliff?
Well, why would disembodied angelic spirits need clothing? I mean, come on.
Yeah, exactly.
There's absolutely no reason for clothing in a non-human presentation of other beings that are not human and are not immediately like, oh, we have to relate to you as a human, and you're dressed up like Laurence Olivier in Clash of the Titans, and you're dressed up as Zeus. So we have to see, Maggie Smith dressed up as Hera, and we have to see all these actors. No, we don't need to see the actors dressed up as these anthropomorphized versions of gods and goddesses, because they're really not. I mean, so if they want to go with nudity, as long as it's like, hidden by wisps of light and cloud and visual effects, then they're going to give us the obvious intention that these are angelic beings. They're angels. What are you going to get?
I don't have a problem with that. And also, like, the whole idea of like nudity is antithetic to Tolkien is kind of a weird argument for me, because there is nudity in Tolkien's writings, and there's actually several moments of nudity in his writings. Maybe not so much in Lord of the Rings, but in the Silmarillion, and the story of Turin Turambar, when his sister Nienor is running through the forest after she's had her memory wiped, he finds her naked in the forest.
Yeah, Professor Tolkien can talk about nudity, but he never talks about any sexual expression. That never happens.
Right.
Ever.
Yeah. But like nudity and sexuality are technically two different things.
Completely different. Yes.
Kathy, didn't the hobbits run naked with Tom Bombadil?
They did.
Yeah.
Oh, wait. Sorry. You were asking Kathy. Sorry, Kathy, please.
Sorry.
He was asking you. I am
sorry.
So sorry.
We both answered.
Sorry.
Was this when they were dug up being buried by the tree?
Right. So we're okay with everything described here. I mean, this is pretty good. Yeah. We're already on page 3, and we think these are legit leaks. They sound valid, and we're okay with them.
And I like the idea of Eru being a disembodied voice, because it ties into the Gospel of John that in the beginning there was the Word. And imagine a being, a massive, omnipotent God being that can be portrayed in no other way visually. And of course, in the Muslim faith, you are not permitted to make visual representations of the Prophet Muhammad. So I find it fascinating that we'd be able to see the Godhead of this whole cosmology and yet not see him at all. And he would refrain from being visualized by a Laurence Olivier or a big actor name. And I think that is to the benefit of that. I really do think
he should
that
be
helps.
like
I agree.
a big light, and of course it may even be his light that is lighting them as they're coming. You know.
Well, later on, we hear Gandalf famously say, I'm a servant of the secret fire.
Secret fire. Yeah.
Yeah. And if they start to show details like that, and some of the other Maiar and Valar spirits talk about it, then there's just going to be a whole new context for when people watch or read Fellowship of the Ring later on. It might really help contextualize for those people who have not read the Silmarillion at all.
Yeah.
When they see what powers they really hold, because until you start to see them, and it's still sort of somewhat invisible and whatnot, to see Saruman call down a storm on Caradhras, and and of course, obviously fighting a Balrog.
I'm just confused right now because Cliff made such a big stink about nudity for months and months and months and months leading up to season 1.
Because we didn't know the context.
This is hugely different now.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. Okay.
Good to know.
That's because we were reporting previously. We cannot forget the context of last year, or was it the year before?
But it was the year before that. It was 3 years ago, Cliff.
Well, thank you. Well, it was Jeff Bezos was being reported as, quote, "Make me a Game of Thrones," unquote. And we hinged a lot of our editorial approach was based upon that information that Jeff, and we knew that Jeff wanted to have something like Game of Thrones that would be as big and complex and as, we're talking dark fantasy.
And he did
and
hire
that
Brian
show is
Cogman
particularly bloody
and
well, and they did. So that was the context of us being worried about unnecessary nudity, because there was a lot of nasty, ugly stuff that was added to certain characters that shouldn't have been added in Game of Thrones. But we'll not discuss that.
Otaku Senpai mentions nudity in the Lord of the Rings. He says on the Barrow Downs there was nudity, and also the Tower of Caerthungle, because obviously the orcs removed the clothing that.
All right, so Tolkien's okay with nudity, just didn't like sex.
Yeah.
All right, I get it. All right, before we get into the juicy,
and I can understand like Cliff's trepidation years ago about that, because if we're looking at it from the context of Game of Thrones had nudity and a whole lot of sex.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Fair. All right.
It was very much in your face for the first 2 seasons.
Mm-hmm. All right, so before we get to the next screen of leaks, we're okay with this. Everything is checked out. Are you guys excited for season 2 now? Like, has this improved your hype? Like, we might see some things we never thought possible?
I am very intrigued by it. I am not going to get too hyped about it, just because
I want to hear the music of the Ainur.
I want to see how this is rendered first, before I really get hyped about it, because this is a major part of the Middle Earth mythos, and I don't have the highest expectations of the people running this show. So
all right, well, let's get into the fun stuff now. Let's bring this up full screen. An entire scene described. Sauron will be played primarily by 3 actors in season 2. Sauron in Myron form and called such is not Halbrand or Anatar. After the 4th interruption of the song that we just talked about, several Maya meet and discuss Melkor's discordance. Mithrandir is in this scene with Radagast, and Mithrandir is almost convinced to support Myron's agenda. All right, that's a lot to take in. Let's just take these one by one.
This is where it starts to get a little bit wobbly, a little bit.
Yeah.
Let's go.
All right, so number one, Sauron will be played primarily by 3 actors in season 2. Does that check out?
Yeah. If
Yes,
they're
it
already
does.
doing a different guy for Anatar, I totally see that. Yeah.
All right.
Yep.
Cool.
Now, have we confirmed which actors? I mean, like when you mention Gavi Singh Chadha, is it confirmed he's Anatar, or is it just confirmed he's cast in the film in the show, and you're just saying he's Anatar?
Nothing has been confirmed by Amazon. All of these leaks are unconfirmed, whether they come from us, Fellowship of Fans, Drew Halbrand, or any other places. So nothing's confirmed until Amazon confirms it in Vanity Fair. But as far as
you're
we
just
know,
proposing an actor's name as Anatar. I mean, so the leak of Anatar being in it, and that this person, those are 2 different topics.
right. We have updated information to the second bullet point here. It has come to our attention in the last couple weeks that Charlie Vickers is the Myron form, and Charlie Vickers will be playing Sauron in this early scene. I mean, this is pre-first stage even. This is the creation myth itself. So, as we understand it now, Charlie Vickers is in this scene as Sauron, looking like Halbrand. And further to that, Myron may not be a name used. So, I think they're trying to uncomplicate things, as a TV show should.
I've noticed that, and that's on one of the other bullet points, and we'll get to that.
and that was one of my big things with reading the Silmarillion, is how many different names people had. And I realized some of it was that they were moving from one region to another, from like human to Elven kingdoms and whatnot, and had different names. But it was just like, pick a name and stick to it, please, because it's so hard to keep track of all of them.
Well, not only that, but then there's also a lot of different characters will have the same name.
This is true also.
Right.
Generations later.
All right, so I can X out bullet point number 8, because we're now hearing that Myron is not in there and Charlie is in there. So that is incorrect, and Gavi Singh Shira is not in this scene at all.
Anatar.
All right, number 9. After the 4th interruption of the song, several Maya meet and discuss Melkor's discordance. Can someone explain this?
There's only 3. There's only 3 of these themes of the music, not a 4th one. So I wonder if this is a typo or a mistake, or someone just doesn't understand what they were looking at.
Yeah, I don't know, but there was definitely like discussions and protests about Melkor adding discordance to the music. So I mean that tracks, but yeah, the 4th interruption kind of gave me a little pause.
Is it a deal breaker though? I mean, 3 songs, 4 songs. Is this really a lore breaking, show ruining change?
Not for me, but like it does kind of speak to a little bit of like a flippant attitude about adaptation, because it's like we're changing it for the sake of changing it.
Cliff, I'll answer you why. We know that the rights situation is delicate, and if the Tolkien estate has not approved a full 1-to-1 retelling of the Silmarillion, but they can use parts of it, but have to change certain things just to be that much different. It's kind of like, changing the font on a certain thing so it doesn't look like, the McDonald's logo type thing. Like, it's just, you have to make some accommodations. So, do we agree that this
is actually a thing where you don't need to, if there's no story reason to change it, the part of the sentence I want to focus on is not what I think is the mistake about the 4th interruption. Let's talk about the other half of the sentence. I'm interested and would say it's much more believable that Maya are meeting and discussing the discord of Melkor. Yes, that's probably, if they're going to even bother showing the Ainulindale like this, then I would agree that this is a truer rumor than most.
I agree, yeah. And yeah.
And Mithrandir will not be identified as Mithrandir. He might have a different name, Olorin, I guess.
Yeah.
You know?
Like
Yeah.
that was like that was what gave me pause. I'm like, are they going to be calling him Mithrandir at this point? Because at this point, his name is Olorin.
So that name should not even be in your
it's
in
an
their mouth.
Elvish name. So until he goes and meets the Elvish, he can't be named with an Elvish name.
Got it.
What?
So
Yeah.
So Mithrandir shouldn't even be in use.
Not
As the word. No.
No.
He would be called Olorin later on by the elves, but the elves don't exist yet. So I guess what we're just looking at is the actor who plays the stranger. Is that who we're going to see in this scene?
Yes,
I'm
supposedly.
assuming.
Well, so what do you guys think about Gandalf
Radagast.
and Radagast in this scene?
Interesting. Don't know about that.
Is there any? Is it lore breaking? Is there any huge red flags to this?
In this? No.
Okay. Here's what. It would be a setup for a Radagast reveal later on. I mean, we have Daniel Wayman, who's playing the stranger, and everybody has pretty much accepted that he is Olorin / Gandalf. We've all accepted that. And if that conventional wisdom holds true, then why wouldn't they show some other actor who's going to be, we'll just have him so we can have Radagast later, show him in season 2 so we can have Radagast show up and meet Daniel Wayman as the stranger and Nori, who's out wandering around somewhere. Why not?
Yeah. So if they did use, thank you to the chat room for calling it out. If they did use their names Olorin and Iwendil, which is their Valerian names.
Valinorian, yeah.
Are you okay with that?
They got to have a name, and so yeah, I'm okay with it.
All right, and it's okay to see.
They don't have to talk to each other with their names either. They don't actually.
That's true too. Yeah,
they could just be talking, and it's just like, well, they're Maya.
All right, so we like it. We like the idea of Gandalf and Radagast. All right, the last one, Gandalf.
And before we move on there, just because I still want to play devil's advocate for the Blue Wizards, is we could meet the Gandalf character and the Radagast character talking, and neither one of them could be Daniel. In other words, we could have a third wizard, and the one that's the stranger. So, I just want to leave open. I know everyone wants him to be Gandalf, but I'm like, I really want a blue wizard.
Well, we're hearing,
and I'm with you on that, but there are some future bullet points that kind of go against that. Yeah.
Okay, whatever.
And the latest gossip that we're hearing, Green Dragon gossip, is Daniel Wayman, the stranger, Meteor Man, is actually Radagast.
That's what I was thinking.
Okay.
Wouldn't that be a great little twist? Is we see him start talking, and then all of a sudden, oh no, the other guy's Gandalf.
And
which would be very cool.
And it would be interesting to use Radagast in a way that unites all of the plant and animal kingdoms in this upcoming battle against Sauron.
Well, the fact that he brought that tree back to life.
Yeah.
So I don't think he's a blue wizard.
No, and I know everybody wants to hold out the possibility that he might be a different character, but why would they have the character use Gandalf's very specific dialogue about following your nose?
This is true.
Yeah, but like what I've noticed is they like to do just little Easter eggs for the fans that don't mean anything.
It's a misdirection.
So,
yeah, they love to throw misdirection at you. And that is a writing choice that would be treating the fans. They call it fan service. It's just misdirection. So he better be Gandalf, otherwise we're just gonna get mad. All right, the last bullet
that
point.
would be
I wouldn't be
such
mad.
a pisser. If he's not Gandalf, then why did you even tease us with all that? Anyway.
All right, what do you guys think about Gandalf almost convinced to support Sauron's agenda?
No, it would probably be Curufin, the one who'd be most likely to, the girl most likely to, as you'd be voted for in your high school yearbook. Yeah, it's Curufin / Saruman, who would be that one, not Gandalf, not the Olorin. It would be Curufin.
So it's true to the legendarium that a
Possibly.
wizard is nearly convinced at this stage.
To the mayor.
Well,
Yeah.
that was never mentioned in any of the
It-
lore, but
it-
it's a completely acceptable piece of adaptive idea. It's completely
I
acceptable.
I agree. I would buy Curufin almost being convinced more than I would Olorin.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So we like the story concept of this, and it's true to the books, but we don't like the characters in play. Is that what we're saying?
Yes.
Yeah, pretty much.
All right. So most of this checks out then.
Yep.
Right?
Most all of this, if they are really doing this early creation myth, and even if they're doing like maybe 20 minutes of the episode just to talk about the creation myth, then all of this stuff makes reasonable sense, I think.
Yeah. Like,
and here's a justification that I think might happen with these names being leaked, Mithrandir being leaked. I believe that different people involved in the production are given different code names. Olorin,
Okay,
Mithrandir.
thank you. The chat is correcting me. It's Kuranir, not Kurufin. My mistake.
Whoops. Oh, you're
Yep.
right. Yeah, Celeborn.
You guys are so right, and you're right.
And
it
I was
actually
just
would be
reading the story of Baron
Kurumo.
I am such
Cecilia
an-
is on it. Jen is on it. Keith, everyone is on point. Otaku Senpai. I'm so glad we have a live chat so that a major academic mistake could not happen on our show. Thank you, everybody. Thank you. All right.
You were 90% there.
Okay.
But this also goes to show how accurate fans take these things, right? You cannot play fast and loose, even with missing one letter in Kuranir's name, right? And the producers and the showrunners of the show would be wise to remember that. Like, details matter to us, don't they?
Yeah, this geekdom's been around long enough. Yeah.
And I feel like an idiot because I was just reading the story of Baron and Luthien where Curufin, the elf lord, plays a prominent role, and I didn't catch that, and I feel stupid now.
Well, don't worry about that. Well, so all these leaks pretty much check out. We just got to replace some of the names of the characters, right? That are out of whack.
What would really be a kick-ass thing that would improve the way everybody is, all the fans at least would approve, is if they did a more accurate usage of those early names of these spirits, like Kurumo, and nobody's going to know except for the hardcore book fans that if we're talking about Kurumo or Kuranir, we're talking about Saruman. And if they don't use the name Saruman and just use this strange historical old ancient name for this being, that would be cool. That would add extra cool points to it.
And
but,
it would. It absolutely would.
The deep little Easter eggs that some of the Marvel movies show that only the real hardcore comic book geeks will notice it.
And if they use these ancient names, the regular Joe Schmo, Johnny Football, Super Bowl watching people would not know that that's Gandalf or Saruman's name. So when Saruman shows up later, they'd be like, "Oh, cool! I remember seeing that guy." It's a nice nod to fans while keeping the playing field open for whatever the show wants to do. So, so we like the leaks so far, and
the one question I have, or the one thing, and this is more to the source of the leaks, is by putting that Gandalf's name in there, almost seems a bit of like a bit of trolling, like, oh, well, we think there's going to be a wizard who might fold to Sauron, so let's put the wrong name in and freak everyone out on purpose. So in other words, I see some of these leaks being manipulative.
Yeah, and also I think the use of Mithrandir, I think they gave different scripts and different details to different film units to catch future leakers. So I think the person that is leaking this possibly has purposely fake information that the producers put in there so they could narrow down and catch who leaked it later on. So I think,
that's possible.
Okay.
Right? So we know that Amazon
have been known to do that.
Amazon takes things very seriously. We were accurately reported last time that scripts were divvied out to the actors one by one. I mean, they didn't even tell Charlie Vickers that he was playing Sauron until episode 3 was filming. So they take secrecy so importantly. I have no doubt that Mithrandir in this leak is going to get someone in trouble. And I think the story is accurate, as we just said, but the character will be Saruman. I like that. Okay. Moving on. This gets its own slide. Myron, aka Sauron, gives an epic speech. Quote, "The One has blessed me more so than all of you to see the potential of his creations. And what better way to forge their metal than by allowing them to face Melkor's discord and grow beyond what they think capable." Someone help me out here.
Chaos.
Is this true?
It sounds like a chaos. Like people grow based on chaos and how they survive chaos is kind of what this sounds like in a thematic way.
This actually kind of speaks to something that is in the Silmarillion, and when all this discord is happening, there is a point where the Valar and the Maiar actually go to Eru and say, basically, can you do something about Melkor? And Eru pretty much says to them, like, you are learning to combat what he's doing and making the music greater because of it. I'm paraphrasing in a terrible way, but that's kind of like what is going on there. And
all right, we just got a late entry to the show. Jason Charles Miller, welcome to Torn Tuesday. Good to see you.
I'm here. I couldn't stay away. The rumors were just too thick. I was like trying to battle my way through it. I was just pulling and scraping and scratching my way through these rumors. What's up, Cliff?
Well, hello there. How are you? It's great to have you here, sir.
Well, happy to be here. Sorry I couldn't be here at the beginning, but
it's okay. It's great to have you here.
All good. So obviously you caught a portion of the show. Do you agree with everything you've said so far, that basically all the leaks have been checking out so far?
Yeah. And there was a point that you guys were making earlier that I thought was a really good point, and that is for television, simplifying the names, right? For us, so we could very well see them call Myron Sauron at the beginning, just for the television audience.
I agree. Yeah.
All right. So do we like this rumor? Do we like this idea of Charlie Vickers as Sauron giving a speech to this extent, trying to convince the other Maiar, the other wizards, to join Melkor's cause?
I love the very first line where the one, is he talking about Eru or is he talking about Melkor? When he says, "The One has blessed me more than all of you."
Oh, he's talking about Eru. Yeah.
He's talking about Eru.
He's definitely talking about Eru.
It's just that is such an ego play.
All right. So do we like this? Do we think this is true? Do we think this is false? Or is this a red flag where we don't want to see it?
Well, Justin, the question is, do we like it, or is it true that neither the twain shall meet? You know what I mean? Do we think it's true? Yes. We think it's true because of something you and I discussed the other day, that it appeared to be there was some sort of edict or order from on high that every episode needed to have an epic speech. So if we're going by that rationale, then yes, I do believe this rumor. Do I like it? I don't know. What's in the speech? We'll see.
depends on how well he delivers it.
There needs to be an epic speech in every episode. Oh no.
Oh yeah, Cliff, do you remember those Jeff Bezos's 12 rules of a good TV
Oh
show?
gosh, I do remember that. How awful. I mean, I don't even know, but the idea of showing any of this early creation story, if they're going to show any of it, the point is to show who is allied with whom. And it would be Myron / Sauron, who falls into lockstep with Melkor. And everything in all of the history goes south from that point. It all goes south from there. So I believe it. I do believe it. If they're going to bother doing it, then this is the kind of material I would expect. And I'm fine with it. But I also want to call... sorry, Kathy, go ahead.
I was going to say, and to see how many others follow.
Right.
Or do not follow.
Yeah.
To their reaction.
Yeah, I can see this. And like another thing to that speech that Myron Sauron says, like this kind of speaks to my idea of like if we're seeing this from Sauron's perspective, then we might be seeing it through the eyes of an unreliable narrator. And that this speech that Sauron is giving is actually the speech that Eru gave to them.
Oh, interesting.
Oh yeah, that's good.
All right. There might be some of this.
Hold on. TD Matthew in the chat makes a great point. I think it'd be amazing if Curanir is the one who draws Olarin away from Melkor's seduction, and the seeds of Saruman's corruption are there sown. Interesting point. See, there are some things they could do with it. Just like if they're going to bother to do it, then they could set up a whole bunch of stuff that would be part of the DNA of the Second Age and the Third Age storytelling, all the way down the line, and would all start in this bit. If they're going to show this music of the Ainur, it would all be built in here. So if they do it right, then great. I'll say hats off to you guys for being so ambitious. But if they don't do it right, then we're just going to be the loudest to complain about how they didn't take... If they're going to take stuff from the Silmarillion, you better do it right. That's all I got to say.
And this is why I am not super hyped about it.
Right.
All right. Well,
right.
So everything's checking out. Let's go to the next bullet points because there's going to be a discussion. Let me bring it full screen here, folks. Number 13, Sauron tells the dwarves he apprenticed under Aiule, and so they welcome him with open arms. And this is under the leadership of Durin III, Daddy Durin, as we know him in the show. And then number 14, Sauron had a son whom Adar killed. All right, let's take these one by one. Folks, does number 13 check out?
Sauron going to the dwarves. I mean, he wants to...
I feel like this is going to be my first red flag. Where like this
what
is
number 13?
13 and 14. These are both red flags for me. These are things I think are likely to happen and things I don't like.
Agreed. Well, Sauron did apprentice under Aule, yes?
Yes.
So if he wants to start distributing dwarven rings, maybe there'll be some version of Charlie Vickers or some other version of an actor who will be there and start saying, hey, guys, I'm also very familiar with the tutelage of Aule and the arts of, the arts and the craft of it that I've learned. So maybe, I don't know.
Maybe.
Daniel in the chat room says number 13 would make 110% sense to me. Jason, do you agree?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, the thing that I wonder the most is, what is he going to present himself as? In season 1, he was Halbrand, right? Mm-hmm. And so he was a dude. He was a man from the Southlands. Is he going to present himself that way again, or is he going to be like, hey, I'm a Maya, I am all powerful, I studied under Aule, let me work with you, or let me give you these rings.
If he
is he going to be in some sort of fair raiment? I feel like that's what we should see. Will we see it? I don't know.
All right. And number 14.
I don't know.
Uh,
And could he be a dwarf? Could he be an elf?
Well, I think if he's saying that he apprenticed under Ally, he would present himself as an elf.
Yeah.
all right, and then number 14, Sauron had a son who Adar killed.
I kind of think it's the other way around. I'm betting that Adar had a son that Sauron killed, and that's the reason why Adar left and why he says he killed Sauron.
Yeah,
So I know that's the rumor, but I bet it's the other way around.
that could work. I mean, if he, especially since the Adar character considers all the sort of proto orcs his children, right? Didn't he refer to them as his children? So maybe there was like a favored child that Sauron killed, but it seemed like he was killing a lot of his
Well,
children.
I hate to burst your bubble on that point, Kathy, because here is an actual quote from season 1 when Halbrand Sauron has Adar pinned to the ground with that spear. Adar says, "Did I cause someone you love pain? A woman?"
Right.
Pause. "Perhaps a child."
And yeah, and of course, if I remember correctly, he's one of the people that would have been an elf changed to orcdom because he's mostly an elf. So yeah, okay, all right, you're right. Okay,
so
like
that season 1 dialogue is setting up, and as we talked about last week, the showrunners McPain have said explicitly that they tried to make every line of dialogue in the entire series true in some aspect. So there's no reason to believe this isn't a lie. Perhaps a child. Sauron has a son.
Not cool. This doesn't happen in the canon of the books, and it's not even a weird idea that was toyed around with in some random manuscript that was forgotten or changed. The idea is based on Melian, right?
Million.
Yeah. Million?
Yeah, Melian.
Melian, yeah.
She was the one.
She's a Maiar who had a child, yes.
And so therefore anybody, and somebody I think showed up on our Discord actually using her as an example and saying, well, what about Thingol and Melian? You know, there you can have an actual relationship between a Maiar spirit who becomes physically embodied and then reproduces with another actual biological creature. So a spirit creature and a biological creature can do this. They can have children. And somebody in the writer's room at Rings of Power is probably just pointing at that and saying, see, that gives us an excuse to do it.
So
but that's just not the way it's done.
Because it can happen doesn't mean it did happen.
I know, right.
So,
Go ahead.
So
yeah,
when the chat room, Sicilian chat room says number 14 is not at all faithful to Tolkien at all, Cliff, you just disproved her point. It is true in one specific story. But Anonymous Girl says 14 cannot happen. Jason, why are people so viscerally against Sauron having a son?
Well, I mean, okay, look, the person who posted on the message board had a technical point, but it was pointed out to us what a unique situation that was between Thingol, Melian, and then how uniquely specific that one instance was. Look, it would make more sense if Sauron's had a son and it was a cat.
Yeah, right.
Because then at least you were pulling from some sort of old lore. Because if you remember, Sauron originally was a cat, right?
Yep.
The Lord of Cats.
The vampire theory.
Yeah, I mean, so I don't know. I hope that at least they use some thread of real lore if they do decide to give him a son, because
I just want to point out in the chat Tolkien study and it says, "I'm going to leave, but my name is Michael Drought, professor of Tolkien, and I'll write my opinion in the New York Times," which he probably will. He was one of our speakers at one of our conventions in New Jersey many, many, many moons away.
Daisy Kim in the chat room says Melian had to bind herself to her physical body to have a child.
Yeah.
And Sauron doesn't, because he obviously changes form until he loses all form altogether.
Yeah,
So-
he specifically doesn't bind himself to his physical form until he loses it.
All right, so let's go through this. Do we think, in the face of this line of dialogue from season 1, do we think this rumor is true?
I don't actually still. I mean, even though it's there, now obviously a woman, but I don't know. The Sauron characters always seem to be so self-centered
That's
that
fine.
I can't see him falling in love with anyone enough to be hurt by being murdered.
All right, Kathy's a no. Let's go around the table. Josh, yes or no, do you think this is true or false?
I think it's true, and I don't like it.
Jason, true or false?
I'm with Josh. It's true. Don't like it.
Cliff Broadway, you've given all the reasons. You spent 45 minutes last week giving us all the reasons why this can't be true. What's your opinion today? Do you think this show would put this on screen?
At the risk of pissing off the fandom, yeah, it's possible. But there's a lot of other reasons to create conflict between Adar, who is a fascinating character, and Sauron. There are lots of other good ways to create conflict, but not by doing this. So
I agree. Yeah.
I just don't think this is true.
Well, we've got an icon for
think
something
it's
like
the other
this. It's
I
called...
still think it's the other way around. I still think it's the other way around. Even though he said that, I still think it's the other way around.
And you know what, Kathy? I think that's a brilliant insight, and I would hope that that would be the approach.
Well, after
I
all,
would
remember,
hope-
he said he killed Sauron. He thought he had killed him.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
that
that's
would
right.
be another reason for this. Did I cause someone you love pain?
Okay.
And of course, it's Sauron. And probably a
Mm.
different face, not realizing he was looking at Sauron. Or maybe realizing he was.
We'll
So
see.
So we think this is true, but none of us want it. I put a red alert. We have a red flag, but this is a red alert siren because the community over the last 2 weeks have said this is kind of like a line in the sand. If they take Sauron there, and he has a son or had a son, it's completely lore breaking. So let me ask
A
you.
lot of people have said, the big conventional wisdom I've heard is that Sauron would not trust his own son. And that kind of dynastic approach to rule was not something that Sauron would ever do. Even Gandalf says noticeably in the film, he does not share
He
power.
does not share power, yeah.
Why would he share power with a son? Why would he have a dynastic approach? So I'm with that conventional wisdom with the fans that that's not something Sauron would do, period.
Is this a deal breaker? Do you turn off the TV and throw the remote if this happens?
After everything that happened in season 1 and I stuck with it, this would not be where I rage quit.
Jason, is this your rage quit moment?
This might be my mute moment, but I will say this: the art department, the costume department, the makeup, it's all excellent. I'm looking at Middle Earth, and I love that no matter what. So maybe this is where I mute it, but it isn't where I turn it off. And if you mute it, does that still count as a view? Probably. But the love.
According to Amazon's metrics, yes.
Oh, well, okay, then yeah, this might be where I mute it, but. I mean, look, even, these books have lived with us our entire lives, and any adaptation, we're going to watch at least once.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
I think fandom has allowed the movie version of Faramir to survive all this time, and many people have fallen in love with movie Faramir, even though he's completely unrecognizable from the books. I think this is one of those moments where, you know, I'm already exhausted hearing the questions from my family and friends saying, "Hey, I never knew Sauron had a son," and having to defend that, I can't. And so I just want the show to know. I want Amazon to know, if you want us as your army to defend the show, you have to give us stuff to defend, and this ain't it. Cliff, any final thoughts on Sauron had a son whom Adar killed? Could they just reference it and never show it?
Well, the devil went down to Georgia. He was looking for a soul to steal. He was in a bind. He was way behind. He was looking to make a deal. I just don't want to do that with. I'm sorry. I don't know what just happened, but I really don't want this kind of stuff to go south, because it's easy enough to explain after watching season 1 to the non-Tolkien fan. Hey, what was going on with Sauron and Galadriel? Well, they were aware of each other, but there wasn't that kind of thing going on where Galadriel was duped and fooled by Sauron. Really? Galadriel wasn't fooled? No, I want to tell you the truth, actually. It was the High King of the Noldor, Gil-galad. He was almost fooled, maybe, but he shut the door and said, "Sauron, you can't come into my kingdom." Didn't quite happen. You know who was really, really fooled? Tell me, who? It was poor Celebrimbor. Boy, was he fooled. And he got duped by the worst, like, catfishing scam, but it ended up changing all of history of Middle-earth. These conversations are great conversations with non-fans. And it's the best thing that could really happen from the Rings of Power, is that it generates more discussion, and fans who are curious will then read the books and get a much, much better take on they'll get the real take on this story. But as easy as it is to explain what happened with Halbrand and Galadriel, it would not be as easy to explain some of the other stuff that we're about to go into, especially this Tom Bombadil.
Hold on, we're not there
this
yet.
whole thing.
We're just talking about Sauron's son.
This is me prefacing, but even Sauron having a son is just dumb. It is dumb. It's going to make it so difficult to explain other things about this mythology. I think it will forever cloud the waters of conversation if that becomes, oh, television canon, la la la, the whole Darth Vader, Anakin and Luke kind of father-son thing. It never happened. It never happened. Introducing it is a folly. I think it's a folly to introduce this, really.
Devil's advocate, if I'm an amateur TV writer that has no credits to my name, I would say Sauron had a son, his son died, and Sauron realizes that procreation is not the path to leadership and long-term leadership of Middle Earth. And the loss of his son creates the need to make something else that is not hereditary. And this leads to his decision to make the ring with all of his power and might and evil and malice. Instead of pouring it into your offspring, he pours it into the ring. And I can see, if I'm an amateur TV writer, that might be a path. But any good Tolkien lore expert would slap me in the face and say, "Justin, you're stupid. You would never, ever write that and put it on screen." Moving on. We've got another interesting rumor that is just as wild and yet a little more wholesome. Oh, wrong button. Number 15. Horse Lovers Rejoice, a dedicated bottle episode with little dialogue, will tell the story of the first Maerys, Felaroth, and introduce Shadowfax. Number 16, Gandalf, the Meteor Man, meets Shadowfax. All right, what do we think of this rumor?
Where do you put the epic speech if it's got little dialogue and only horses?
It's just a bunch of neighing.
Epic. It's epic name though.
It says, are you kidding?
Wow.
Shadowfax, the name itself is an epic speech.
I like this idea. I don't think the bottle episode is true. I think they might have filmed enough for a bottle episode. I don't, and also a bottle episode can include a side storyline from the main narrative. You don't have to commit the full hour to horses. But I think if I'm an Amazon executive and I have billions of data points of what the fans want and what the fans love about Lord of the Rings, I would put this on the list, add it to Jeff Bezos's 12 things every show needs to succeed, and I would add, we need an episode devoted to horses to make the fans happy. This is a pure data play.
As long as they give us an episode full of Ents. Because if they don't give us any Ents and explain why they appeared briefly when the meteor's falling and never go back and visit the Ents, I will be very mad.
Are there any red flags to this idea, this leak?
Big time. Go ahead, you first.
Yeah,
Jason.
because I'm pretty sure it said in The Lord of the Rings that Gandalf met Shadowfax in Edoras in the Third Age. Didn't he?
Well,
and that's one of the reasons why Theoden was annoyed with him, because he took Shadowfax.
Yeah, it was that was one of the things, but I mean, Lord of the Rings also said that Gandalf came to Middle Earth in the Third Age, and that ship has sailed.
Right. Right.
Well, just like, if Meteor Man is Gandalf, then hanging out with the Harfoots was definitely the reason why he has always loved the Shadowfolk.
Oh, thank you, Crawling Chaos in the chat room, for reminded me that one of the major emotional filming points of season 1 that was so emotional that they filmed it in slow-mo was a horse ride on the beach. So we know the show has some affinity for shooting horses in slow-mo. They are kind of obsessed with horses. It's the only time Galadriel smiled in season 1. So there is something to the horse thing. But I'm okay, to Jason's point, I'm okay with compressing time, introducing Shadowfax.
I'm kind of like, if they're going to do this, I'm going to do what Jason said he would do and just watch it on mute.
Cliff, you have a harder opinion on this.
Maybe, but no, this is a realistic opinion, and a lot of people in the chat also say, why waste time on an episode when you only have 8 episodes in a full season that had been reduced from a 10-season construct? Now it's just going to be 8, and you're wasting time doing this when we've got dwarven rings to distribute. We've got other kings of men to meet in other kingdoms, because they've got to have rings distributed to them. There's a crazy thing that's going to happen in Numenor. There's so much other story going on. Why waste time doing this? But okay, if they do spend time with the stranger and Nori, okay, and the very talented actor, Mr. Wayman, I can imagine seeing him like wandering through the field, and there's a horse, and he meets this beautiful horse, and la la la. That'd be great. But why is all this You're right, Josh Rubenstein, when you said it's the boat left a long time ago. It's all Third Age stuff. It's all Third Age stuff. But my main complaint is, what is it in the larger service of the larger story? So maybe we'll just have
introducing the who will also service. Well, I guess the Maris are the Rohirrim horses. Yes.
And they don't live thousands and thousands of years. These horses don't live thousands of years.
Right. I thought they were like, really awesome horses, but still regular horses that just were awesome. I didn't think they lived for thousands of years. Exactly. You bring up an interesting point, Cliff, and that is, forgive me for waxing for a second, but when I first heard that the show was going to be called The Rings of Power. And I also know from behind the scenes or whatever that Jeff Bezos was like, get me my Game of Thrones. I thought, oh, okay, it's called The Rings of Power. We're going to see the tale of 9 different kings and kingdoms. And it's like maybe every season will be half a season about a different king, and we're going to see how they got corrupted, and it's going to be full of corruption and schemes and Game of Thronesy, and it was so not that at all. But that was back, when I first heard the title and thought they knew.
Dang it, you just pitched a way better show.
There aren't a lot of rings in your Rings of Power TV show.
There would be 9. What are you talking about?
There's supposed to be 19 rings. We have barely seen 5 minutes of 3 of them. So I wouldn't put it past the show to dedicate a whole lot of time to horses. And just
and to me, again, this sounds like troll bait. As a rumor, it sounds like, oh, they're going to introduce the Meros. So let's pretend like it's going to be a whole episode and everyone will freak out going, yay, horses. What a waste of time.
All right. So that's interesting.
I think like if they're going to do this, it might be like half an episode at most.
All right. So
weave.
I like Kathy's argument here. We're going to put a big fat X because I don't think it's true. I don't, for many reasons, including production time, including distraction from the main story, and this does feel like bait. So we're gonna put this rumor as the first one we totally shut down as probably not true, also because Shadowfax just doesn't make sense.
Right.
It
would be one thing. It would be one thing to show the stranger having a special relationship with animals, and if they do that, then cool. He's a wizard who's chilling with the animals. It'd be cool, and it might even fuel a little bit of side speculation that he's a Radagast character, not a Gandalf character. But don't dedicate an entire bottle episode to just a separate, insignificant portion of compared to the story of the Rings of Power, which is what's on the table in front of us, that's an insignificant sidestep, really.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Let me ask you this. Do we raise the red flag if Shadowfax shows up? Is that a red flag to you guys? Like, is that a mute moment when it's like, Shadowfax? Come on.
I mean, it's not a red flag necessarily, but it's like a Y. It's a yellow flag, that's for sure. Maybe it's an orange flag.
Yeah, I would say more of a yellow flag for sure. Like it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, I don't like it, but I don't hate it.
There's more than one Glorfindel, so sure, why not have a Shadowfax, just not the Shadowfax?
I can't believe of all the leaks, we're poo-pooing the horses. We're
breaking Cliff.
It's okay. It's okay. This is okay.
Yeah, didn't you know that in Lord of the Rings it was actually Shadowfax the Fifth?
Oh gosh.
Well, we have a Durin 3 and a Durin 4, so why not?
All right. Horses, man. I thought that would get more love, but I don't see a lot of
horses. Is a hot topic, man.
This is the hottest topic.
This
is the part I really want to talk about.
Yeah,
we're getting to it. Okay, yeah.
All right, this is it. Oh wait, we don't need that X and flag up there yet, do we? Give us time.
Just keep it up there.
Just keep it up there. Tom Bombadil and Goldberry are in an episode. They are played by the same actor and actress as Melkor and Ungoliant. The pair as Bombadil and Bombadil and Goldberry are serving out punishment from Mandos per a long-held fan theory, and the season will end with Sauron forging the One Ring. All right, let's take these one by one. Cliff, Tom Bombadil and Goldberry are in an episode. Does that check out?
That's possible.
Okay. You could. We've talked about this and speculated how fun it would be just to use a character like that, and and then have them be like, "Oh, fan service." Well, that was cute, but not to the level of where we get down to point number 18 and 19. So
Yeah.
17 is really distinct and different. And just like I love Durin the Seventh. He is so enthusiastic in his responses and I get it. I'm
The
totally
big red
with you.
X's.
I
All right,
love
and
it. Okay.
I will
You
say
got to
this.
say with a light touch, this is the big caveat emptor. You got to say this. If you do 17, you have to do it with the lightest possible touch, and it has to be done right. That's it.
Well, if
We
it's
reported.
in passing, like you can hear the song of Bombadil, singing in the background in the forest or whatever, while Goldberry's down by the river or something, and you just sort of in passing, and then you move on.
Like if the stranger and Nori were to like meet him in their journeys, I'd be okay with it, as long as we don't do 18 and 19.
Well, the
And
reason.
this is where I need clarification. Was Ungoliant played by a human? I thought Ungoliant was a spider.
Well, let's get
Right.
to 17 first.
Okay.
I will say that the One Ring exclusively reported last April that Tom Bombadil was seen. The name Tom Bombadil was seen on a casting call sheet. So we ran with the rumor last April, and the internet picked it up. It was featured on Gizmodo and Nerdist and Screen Rant, and the internet got excited because everyone knows Tom Bombadil. So I guess, Jason, do you agree with Cliff that he would have to be handled with a grace and a careful consideration?
Well, I agree that Cliff is a merry fellow. Bright blue is his hoodie, and I'm guessing his boots are yellow, but I'm not sure.
I'll get
I
a
would
pair
say, look, I mean, Tom himself said that he's been around since the beginning, right? When the four hobbits meet him, he says, "I've been around forever." I'm paraphrasing, of course, but so you could totally have Tom and Goldberry in it. I think it would be fun. I think it would be fan service, and but 18 and I mean, we're just talking about 17 right now, right? We're not gonna.
Yeah.
I mean, because you can throw the flag all over 18 and 19.
No, so
But yeah, I would love to see Tom Bombadil properly represented on camera. That would be a lot of fun, and that might make me want to watch that episode. And not mute it.
Again, because they had that slight nod to Ents in the scene where the meteor goes by. If they don't bring in a story of Ents, but they bring in a quick passing of Tom Bombadil, where you actually talk to them as opposed to just hearing them off in the distance, that'd be cool. Still want Ents.
This is what I imagine, and this is how I would ideally like it. If the stranger and Nori are wandering around, they might bump into Tom Bombadil, who's trying to help the Entwives, or maybe he's trying to help the Ents look for the Entwives, and they have a passing conversation. Maybe they spend a couple of scenes talking about, the nature of the earth and some real, maybe some cute little platitudes from Tom. But then off he goes with Goldberry, and they're off doing things to help look for the Entwives. And then we go on with the rest of the main story. I'm talking about the lightest possible touch of using this character.
Yeah, I
right?
agree. And like, if you're gonna do that, and there's gonna be like some bigger takeaway to that, then this could be like some kind of trigger to help bring some of the strangers' memories back.
So
sure,
that's how I was going to introduce.
Not with like,
That could be
not
cool.
with Tom like telling him anything about it, but just like by him being in the presence of Tom, something sparks within him.
So that's the additional
and leave it at that.
we've gotten.
Yeah, I mean, the other stuff, especially the thing we're going to get to right now, points 18 and 19, are supporting a narrative idea that is so bonkers, it is so daft, it would cause me not only to mute the TV set, but it would cause me to stop the show and not watch anymore.
And again,
I agree that if 18 and 19 happen, that might be my rage quit moment.
Well, let me position this. One, what if I told you Gimli is playing Treebeard?
You mean the voice of John Rhys Davies will show up as Treebeard in this new show?
What if we don't have all the information? The leak is Gimli is playing Treebeard. Now, does that
I get his point. I get your point that, like, not knowing, maybe they just happen to use the same actor as a voice of Morgoth, and 19 doesn't exist at all.
To the Morgoth and the Ungoliant from the first, episode 1, which is that episode 1 in season 2 or episode 1 in season 1?
Both.
Because
you
they
see
were just
Ungoliants
Okay.
aren't you see Morgoth in season 2 episode 1, you see Ungoliant in season 1 episode 1 when she's destroying the tree.
Yeah, but you don't really hear her voice.
No,
like,
you won't.
Aside from like a hiss or something like that.
So,
but like, Cliff was describing like Morgoth's defeat as some like cosmic, like, cast out into the void. Makes no sense to me. Doesn't sound Middle Earthy at all.
Out into the void. No, he's totally cast out of the world. He's gone. He's dust. Not dust.
Well, not dust. He's just
space.
outside of the world. There's still like the prophecy of like he will come back and the final battle happens later on, but that's like post Lord of the Rings.
He's out there with General Zod.
Yeah.
Right. All right. So let's again, without the bigger context of everything else, just taking 18 at its face value. Tom Bombadil and Goldberry are played by the same actor and actress as Melkor and Ungoliant. Does it make sense if it's in the same capacity as John Rhys Davies playing Treebeard and Gimli, or those 3 dwarven actors playing the 3 trolls?
Okay.
I mean, sure.
But why? Why would it be so rando like that? This rumor is really specific, and it's tied into the next statement.
Troll bait.
You can't just randomly be like, oh, just maybe it's just the same actor for the sake of let a different actor play the other part if you have to do it.
I'm giving the producers an out. I'm giving them something that we would be
No.
okay with.
This
Like,
isn't
troll bait.
no.
It's troll bait. That's
if
not even a real rumor.
If this is the rumor, then I can see like somebody like seeing that and then rolling with it into 19 as
Which
a
can't
rumor.
exist. Because the thing about Morgoth being cast out is that is one of those timeline things that they do not have permission to change.
As far as
They-
we know.
yeah.
They they cannot change anything that impacts future events, but they can play with stuff in the past. So I like the idea of like the Meteor Man coming across Tom Bombadil, and his very presence triggers Meteor Man's memories, and he becomes a full person again. So to that point, and we already talked about the episode 1 rumors, does it make sense to show Meteor Man at those early meetings about Melkor and Myron and everything else, so he would know what he looks like? Does it make sense to have Bombadil look like
to tie things together? Yeah.
Cliff, I know you want to say something.
I don't think they've ever established what kind of being Bombadil is. I don't think it's ever been. Tolkien sort of always took the Bombadil storyline was always basically the bit of fairy story that he wanted in his tale.
Yeah.
The mystery that
and
is
that's
not
where
explained.
that's where like this quote long held fan theory just like I don't even know what that is, and like I'm a fan who has lots of theories, and I've never heard of like some long held fan theory about Tom Bombadil and Goldberry being exiled or being serving a punishment from Mandos. Like, yeah,
that's just nonsense. Yeah, again, troll bait.
Talking study in the chat room.
Or fake.
The comment in the chat room says, some have said he's unfallen Adam. He's Father Earth.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's often speculated that he might be Iluvatar himself, or it's speculated that he just might be the Earth spirit, the Earth Gaia spirit, as an analogy. And of course, I like this idea that maybe Goldberry and Tom are the version of Adam and Eve before the fall of man. From spiritual grace, which is a very Catholic idea. I can see that. I can see all these permutations are interesting, but you're right, Kathy. None of them are resolved. There is no concrete answer to Tom Bombadil is, and so there would be no causality. Justin, I know you're trying to give the producers a bloody out, but I don't know why, really. But there is no causality to make the actor and actress the same ones that are Morgoth and Ungoliant, unless you are trying to force 19. And if the point number 19 is that Bombadil and Goldberry are now in a manifestation on the physical plane of Arda, and they're there to be serving out some punishment from Mandos. If they go that nutty nutbag with this, it is so nutty. I'm turning the television off and I'll go watch reruns of The Sandman or maybe The Dark Crystal. That's what I'll do instead.
Well,
I think these are fake. I truly think these are troll bait. Particularly 19, it's almost like how can we piss off the most people and make them see how stupid this show is?
And like that's also kind of why I think 19 might be a fake, because like with all of the mystery boxing that they did in season 1, would they really bring in Tolkien's only real mystery box and immediately demystify it?
I mean, gracious. They might. Yeah, what they've done so far. We don't want them to.
But if we're willing to accept, I mean, if we're willing to accept that during the season opener, we're going to get all this Ainu Lindale, music of the Ainur stuff. Wow, won't that be awesome? But if they want to tie it later on to that actor and actress being in the surprise appearance of Tom and Goldberry, then it will be clear that they are doing something weird. So I guess we'll find out when we get there. If you're asking me if this is a viable rumor, Kathy, maybe it's troll bait, but I really think all things being equal, this crazy rumor is just as nutty as Galadriel jumping off the ship at the last minute when she, being hand forced a ticket to Valinor that she doesn't want to go on. And do this that she doesn't want to take. And forgive me, but I mean, that's nutty.
I was already like, wait, Galadriel never would have gotten on that ship in the first place, but
Right.
Sail.
All right.
She wouldn't let Gil-galad boss her around.
Yeah.
Do you know, that's an interesting conversation for another day, but would Gil-galad actually say, go, I'm forcing you to go? And would Galadriel actually say, F you, I'm not going? That's a whole other conversation for another day.
Well,
but
look,
I'm telling you.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely have a response to that, and we can talk about that another time.
Another time.
This is the show that said Mithril comes from a Silmaril through a tree. Jason, give me your opinion on this. Do you think it's true? Do you think it's false? Do you think it's true, but they should not do it? Red flag?
Mithril Chlorians. Here's my problem with all of these rumors that scare me. This is what scares me about all of these rumors, and that is that whoever posted these rumors is familiar with Tolkien lore, right? So either they're out there to troll us, or there is some truth to this, and so that's what scares me the most. Because for everything that we've learned about Melkor / Morgoth and what happened to him the second time when Beleriand broke and he was banished a la Zod, into the great beyond, into the void.
The Phantom Zone.
Yeah. For him to be brought back from the void and then be put into the body of Tom Bombadil, such a beloved character, to so many people. The showrunners have got to understand how that's going to hurt our hearts.
Character assassination.
So I really hope that's
that is like that's the worst of character assassinations right there.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I love the chaos that this would create. I love the dramatic opportunity that this presents, where we think that's Melkor.
Don't make me reach through the screen, son. Don't make me reach through the screen.
I would put a green check and a red flag next to it.
No.
So let's go around. Do we think it's true? Do we think it's false? Or do we want to put the red alert on that this better be false and it better not be true?
I'm going red alert.
Red alert on 19. I don't think it's true. I actually don't think it's true. I really do think it's a troll.
Okay.
Troll rumor.
Jason,
I think it's as
opinion?
Go ahead.
Well, okay, there's a really easy way for it not to be true, and that is they just never say it. Right? Like we can see Tom, and we see Goldberry. I hope that that's true and that they're portrayed properly, because that would be fun. But if somehow they are Melkor and Ungoliant, which anyway, they could just edit that part out and just never say it. It would be pretty easy for us to encounter Tom and Goldberry and never know who they were if the showrunners deemed that they were Melkor.
Yeah, keep the mystery that Tolkien intended.
Yeah, it would break my heart for Tom and Goldberry's very first on-screen appearance be something that demystifies them.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree.
Cliff, final opinion.
Oh boy. I think that our vocal response and the fandom response being what it is right now might cause a lot of this to change in post-production. Okay?
Yeah.
That's what I think.
Do you want that?
I mean, they got rid of Aragorn fighting Sauron at the Black Gate in Return of the King.
Which was a good call. True. That's right. And Vigo went face to face with an enormous Olog-hai troll. Yeah. It was great. Right.
They changed.
Oh my gosh. Oh, yeah. And okay, instead of having to deal with this rather, flimsy, here comes Sauron to be all badass, because that didn't happen in the books. Yeah. And that would have,
So I'm just saying, like, okay, maybe you did do this, maybe you did shoot it, but you know what? You don't have to broadcast it.
And you can do a voiceover and change the names.
I think the strongest argument here was from Jason Charles Miller, who basically said it would hurt our hearts. Because this is such a beloved character. Kathy agreed. And again, I will repeat. Let me repeat what I just said 5 minutes ago. We want to be the biggest champions of your show. Stop giving us reasons for things that we cannot justify to our friends and family.
Yeah. Like I'm with Cliff. Like, if this happens, like, this would be my rage quit moment. Like, I would only come back to the show if enough people convinced me that season 3 actually redeems itself.
And I don't want to spend the next 30, 40 years of my life explaining to people, no, Tom Bombadil was not really Morgoth being redeemed. Right. I don't want to have those conversations for decades to come.
No, absolutely not.
I don't.
We still have one more thing. The season will end with Sauron forging the ring. And isn't it a little too early to have the One Ring already forged? Don't we have to pass out the others before we really get that?
The One Ring should be forged much, much, much later, maybe in season 4. And then he takes it with him to Numenor when he agrees to be taken captive by Pharazôn and the forces of the Numenorians.
Right.
So you think it's too early?
Oh yeah.
I think it's too early, but I also think that they probably will do it.
And then he's going to carry it in his pocket until after because he's got to dispense the other rings before he can put it on and rule them.
He's got pockets, 20 of them.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Jason,
Well-
do you agree? Like, is this too early?
Not well. Okay, it is too early, but not necessarily, because here's why: Farazone already lives.
Yeah.
Elendil already lives. So like, what the timelines have been compressed. So why not compress that too? He could also maybe wear it and not activate it until he gives out all the other rings.
Well, one
I
important
want to
thing
see
we've
that sonic boom that goes off when he puts it on, and everyone else with the ring feels it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully we'll get to see that at some point.
guess what else we reported? We also reported, and it's not even on our list for some reason, Justin, an important one was that Celebrimbor will die
Hang on.
with the. Are we
The
getting to
next-
that?
Oh wait, no, Celebrimbor. Yeah, go ahead.
Look, the reason why it ties into point 20 about Sauron creating the One Ring is because if Celebrimbor is gone, and of course we know he's going to die during the War of the Elves in Sauron, when Eregion and Ost-Enethil, the whole city, is going to be sacked and I assume destroyed. But that means that the other rings have to be made as well.
Exactly.
That logically means the 7 and the 9 will be made, and we will see them, hopefully, on screen being made, and that would allow for him to go to point 20, which would be for him to make the 1 at the end of the season. But we just assume, and haven't even gotten any reports on it, and nothing in the 4chan leaks mention that, but we assume that after the death of Celebrimbor, that means that the 7 and the 9 are going to be forged before he dies, right? Do we agree with that?
I would agree with that. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean,
Then we have
Like, I mean, like we have like that one point earlier where Sauron presents himself to the orcs, or sorry, to the dwarves as a student of Aule. So maybe that's the end to forging the dwarven rings, even though like that really does go against how Tolkien wrote how the rings were created.
Can you
but
imagine?
whatever.
Yeah, you just struck on something, Josh. What if they do something super weird and have a bunch of dwarven smiths under the influence of Anatar make dwarven rings?
Exactly.
And they're not even made by the elven smiths at all.
I mean, it's
Would be
bonkers, but like I'll accept that before I accept that Tom Bombadil is Melkor.
That's bonkers. It's bonkers.
Oh,
I'm telling
Daisy
you.
Kim makes a good point too, that the doors need to be forged.
Yeah, we
Yep.
need
Yeah.
The doors need to be made.
that is
Celebrimbor.
happening this season.
Okay.
Narvi? We reported
haven't-
on that. Yeah.
Yeah, we the other leaks that we're not talking about today are Narvi creates the doors with Celebrimbor. Also, the season ends with Celebrimbor's ultimate fate, and I think we've reported on this anyway. Green Dragon Gossip, if we haven't, that the end of the season, Celebrimbor's fate is what it is. Sauron gets captured at the end of the season, and that is his ticket back to Numenor.
I
Wow,
want
they
to
are
give.
really compressing the timeline.
That's nuts. Oh, by the way, I think full credit to Otaku Senpai. Is that the person who first said, I wonder whether the dwarves will forge the 7 and men will make the 9? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Right.
I think I agree with you guys. I don't think One Ring should be created as yet, but I think they are doing it because basically season 1 was such a waste, 8 hours of screen time, just a waste of no storytelling, that they have to spend they're spending second season 8 hours like rushing through all the rings, and then he creates the One Ring, and then he gets captured, and and then the end of season 2 is setting up. It's probably the final shot of season 2 is probably the boats heading back to Numenor with Sauron captured and a close up on his pocket. That's
what a crazy idea.
Yeah,
It's a crazy idea.
It's bonkers, but like, yeah, I mean, season 1 definitely like reminds me of
And if they
Star Trek
making this a
Enterprise. The original concept for Star Trek Enterprise was that all of season 1 was just going to be the construction of the ship, and that it wouldn't actually leave space dock until the season finale.
Huh.
And so that's what season 1 of Rings of Power kind of felt like, where it's like, okay, it's called the Rings of Power, but we don't actually see any of them until the last minute of the last episode.
And I'm wondering with the way, I mean, if they're bringing in the ring and him going to Numenor, have they just made this a 3-season show?
It's 5 seasons. By the way, Numenor still has to sink. And
Yeah,
we
but
still
they
have
can
to
do
get
that
to
in
a
season
point of
3.
battle of
Yeah.
the huge battle of.
Well, yeah, I mean, but if they're going to end season 2 that way, like that means seasons 1 and 2 have been going at such a breakneck pace that 3, 4, and 5 are going to feel so slow and like nothing is going on.
I don't know. There's other things. Well, speaking of craziness, we've got our final slide here. Final leaks, and these have been really interesting. Let me bring them up full screen. Number 21, Sauron will try to deceive Galadriel again by taking the persona of Celeborn.
This distinctly pisses me off. This distinctly...
I didn't ask for opinions yet. Let me continue. Number 22.
Okay.
Sauron sneaks back into Eregion as Celeborn. 23, season-ending cliffhanger involves Galadriel making a choice to save Celeborn, or is she saving Sauron? And then episode 6 and 7 is a huge 2-part siege of Eregion. All right, now Cliff, you may speak.
Okay, thanks. No, I don't want to speak right now.
Okay, then I'll speak. I hate all of that.
Yeah, thank you.
Haven't you learned from Jeopardy that you wait for them to read the question or read the answer before you buzz in? You can't buzz in until he's read the whole question. That's the Jeopardy. Jeopardy rules.
I mean, it is not Galadriel's place to be the one character who gets fooled over and over and over again. I don't like that. And to make it a one-time thing, well, for season 1, it was an interesting ploy for Halbrand/Sauron to get himself into a position where he could get things going. But it's not at all the way Tolkien wrote it. But I don't get it. I just don't. I don't want like, Galadriel to be that woman who's always the one fooled and duped by everybody. I don't want that to happen.
Galadriel's deception in season 1 strained credulity already. To have it happen again in season 2 just breaks it.
Look, Sauron calls her. Doesn't Tolkien call Galadriel Sauron's mortal foe? I mean, aren't they the ultimate enemies of all of this stuff? It's Sauron and Galadriel are the protagonist, antagonist of all of the lore. Am I incorrect?
My knowledge.
No.
All right, maybe he didn't write that. Let me
read
read
to my understanding. But then,
what I was gonna say was,
but then, like Christopher Tolkien also said in Unfinished Tales that Tolkien was rewriting Galadriel's backstory up until like he stopped writing Middle Earth altogether before he passed.
All right, some comments
So,
from
who knows?
the YouTube chat room. During 7th says, "Just shoot me now." Storyteller says, "I don't believe 21 is legit. Can't they leave poor Celeborn alone?"
Anonymous Girl says, hold up, is 23 implying that they're saving Celeborn and Galadriel's reunion for the end of season 2? Yes.
Yes.
That does.
So let me give you
Which
some
would
context.
suck if it's actually Sauron instead.
So
okay. Can I break in for a second first so we can just deal with 21? Now, in the first season, she tells Theo that he died at the war. I mean, she's always thought Celeborn died in the battle, right? So when Celeborn does come back to Eregion, would it not be almost natural for Galadriel at first, if it is real Celeborn, to think Sauron is messing with me again? That's Sauron. That's not Celeborn. I mean, that would be a natural reaction for her because she's already been fooled by Celeborn.
By Sauron.
I can see her, and I can see it not being Sauron pretending to be him. I can just see she mistakenly thinks, because she thinks in her heart that he's dead. And so seeing him would make her question whether she was seeing him for real or seeing him, Sauron trying to fool her again. So
I mean, that's a good character moment for sure. But like we don't want to drag that out past one episode.
No.
The show has not yet explained if Sauron is possessing Halbrand's body, if Sauron has Horcruxed himself into Halbrand's body, if Halbrand is just a name he took and he's always looked like that. Also, Tolkien described Sauron as a shapeshifter. He's a werewolf, he's a vampire, he can take any form, he can look beautiful to any race. So the show has not yet explained what Sauron is capable of. And so to that end, I believe that Sauron does sneak back into Eregion as Celeborn while Galadriel is away. So she wouldn't know that this guy has showed back up, right? And she doesn't return to Eregion until the final episodes. And then that's where she sees this guy who everybody in Eregion believes is Sauron. He's been revealed. He's been unmasked. That guy is evil. They've strung him up. They've captured him. The Númenóreans want to take him back as prisoner. And Galadriel shows up and says, hold on, wait a minute. Something ain't right. That looks like my dead husband.
I mean, I hope that doesn't happen, but because then where's Celeborn for real? Like, they've already set up the fact that we as book readers know that he's still alive. Even the movie goers who never read the books know that he's still alive. So are they going to drag it out till season 3 that they have an actual reunion because it's going to be fake Celeborn all of season 2? That's going to be a lot to take as well.
Well, my question to number 22 is, if Sauron sneaks back into Eregion as Celeborn, where does Anatar figure into any of this?
Yep, that's still a
Yeah, what would be, you're right. What would be the point?
Yeah.
If we've got Anatar, what's the point of fake Celeborn?
Exactly.
Maybe it's just a quick thing, that could also be a thing. If we're going to accept the fact that there's going to be fake Celeborn, could it be something quick, a few scenes or something, and then it's revealed?
Celeborn plays a major role throughout season 2. So
but is it fake Celeborn or real Celeborn?
That is a mystery box.
I would buy it more if it was real Celeborn and they all thought he was fake Celeborn.
Okay. Well,
again, if Galadriel thinks he's dead, I'm sure everyone else thinks he's dead because he's not been back for however long since that last battle.
Can we start with the fallacy that he should never have been taken off stage? Celeborn should not have been taken off stage like this, but the reason why he was, let's be intellectually honest, these are television writers. Episodic television and its weird demands for all the weird stuff that they've got to do. So they only did it for one reason. They took Celeborn off stage just so they could do this crazy bonkers stuff. So I think this is going to happen, and I think it's going to piss a lot of us off. So you need to green check all of these. All of these.
Oh, you're green checking it. All right, let's go around the table.
I'm green checking them all.
All right, what's your green check? Red X, they aren't real, or red alert, they better not be real.
Please put the red flag at the same time. I hate them.
I'm going to do a red flag on this for everything except for number 24, because that's just pretty much straight up, yeah, that's happening.
So you don't think this is real? You think this is a troll?
No, I think it's real. I just don't like it.
Kathy.
Except for 24. 24 is just the Siege of Eregion. That's definitely happening.
Yeah, I mean, we've known about 24 since before season 1 even came out. I won't even say maybe the showrunners implied that there was going to be a 2-episode Siege of Eregion.
That's true.
Like before season 1 even came out. So
yeah.
All right, Kathy, do you think these are real?
Do they all have to be real? I mean,
okay,
24
go through them. Which one?
So 24 is standalone. That's real. Sauron trying to deceive her. I guess in 21 it says he tries to deceive her. It doesn't say he succeeds at deceiving her. So I guess 21 can be real, and 22 can definitely be real. I can see him putting on the face of somebody that's people would think was a person that they knew, and sneaking in. It's 23 that I have a problem with. Because again, they're dealing with Galadriel as an emotional being as opposed to extremely powerful being.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. Jason, what do you think do you think any of these check out as real?
I don't know. I mean, I was thinking about the whole show in general today, and I was just thinking about how these are characters that we know, but there's so much space that they filled in. I mean, they could very easily do this and not bat an eye at this point. So, once again, check mark with a red flag. Don't want it to happen. Afraid it's going to happen.
Is this red flag, or is this like high alert, siren, call the sirens out? This
like the
better not
beacons.
be.
Is there a beacon?
I should have found a beacon. Yeah.
I'm like, it doesn't matter to me because I'll have already rage quit after the Tom Bombadil episode. So
Yeah. So that's the question: is this a rage quit situation?
no, not for me.
As long as
Kathy?
they don't make as long as the deception lasts very, very short and she calls him out on it. But yeah.
I mean, look how, that's what I'm afraid of. Look how long they dragged out the stranger, right?
Yeah.
They dragged him out all 8 episodes. Are they going to drag out the fake Celeborn all 8 episodes?
Jesus God, I hope not.
It's troubling. It's troubling.
And one other question for you is, we obviously have to have a real Celeborn so that Sauron knows what to make himself look like. So that would be really weird if they end up doing an episode where they're both in the same room, where like one walks in and the other one's like, oops.
It could be like the Star Trek episode with Captain Kirk and evil Captain Kirk. And evil Celeborn will have a goatee.
It would be like Star Trek 6 where it's like the two of them are next to each other. It's like, no, kill him. He's the fake one. No, I'm the real one. Kill him. He's the fake one.
So
that's hilarious.
The background information we have, again, we've heard this particular leak from 3 different sources at 3 different times in the last 12 months.
Which leak?
All of it.
All 3.
All of this. And
all the stuff. Oh, yeah.
And the Celeborn specifically, this is probably the most true leak because we've heard it from 3 different sources. A 4th source close to the producers have said that they love hearing us talk about it because it's so not real. So 1 out of 4 have told us this isn't real. The thing that we've heard with this is the final episode, the big cliffhanger, sets up the idea that all of the peoples, all the elves, and all the men are ready to string up Celeborn for being the Dark Lord, Sauron. Except Galadriel. And maybe through the power of her ring, she sees his true self. And she sees maybe he's possessed. We haven't been explained the magic behind possession yet. But Galadriel sees her husband in that person. So it's basically Galadriel versus the world. And if she chooses to save her husband, she becomes a pariah of all the other elves and men. Because she has now saved the Dark Lord. And this is so melodramatic. This is Riverdale, CW, Arrowverse level TV writing of will she, won't she? And it's the worst type of mystery boxing that we keep telling you we don't want.
Exactly. And
Yep.
Didn't we already do Galadriel against the world in season 1? Like, do we really need to do this again?
That's how the whole show opens. It's Galadriel versus the world. She keeps hunting Sauron. That's why she gets sent away, because it's Galadriel versus the world.
It's like, how did this woman get Lothlorien if she's so hated by everybody?
Emma Jane in chat says, are Amazon listening to us? I hope they're getting the feedback.
They are getting the feedback. That's why we have That's exactly why we produce this weekly show, so that we can talk about it and get these fan ideas into a much larger context, and they can hear us. And I don't want to say Galadriel interrupted, but I just did. And I don't want to do this. I just don't want to do this with this character. Um, there is a reason why they kept him off stage, and it is so he can come back on stage in some weird way. And yeah, this is beneath what a Tolkien adaptation should be, really.
Well, so
to doing all this stuff.
How does Sauron have time to be fake Celeborn, to be an Anatar character, to sneak in and hang out with the dwarves? I mean, how does he have time? I mean, he can't be in multiple places at one time. So I just don't even understand the logistics of how 3 versions of Sauron. Well, of course, now Celeborn, I suppose, could be that 3rd version.
Or I just thought of something from you guys throwing it around. What if Celeborn is the real Celeborn, but he's just mind controlled by Sauron?
Oh gosh.
Right, and that was my
There you
thinking.
go.
Where like Celeborn is the real Celeborn, but everybody in Eregion knows the Celeborn is supposed to be dead. They've already been deceived by Sauron once, and so they just immediately think that he must be Sauron. And then Anatar is able to sneak in just fine.
The movies set it up. The movies set up this idea of the King of Rohan, Theoden, with the big gray beard, until Saruman is cast out by the power of the magic that Gandalf has. So
that wasn't a movies thing. That wasn't a movies thing. That was in the book.
Yeah, that was a book. That was a book thing and a movie thing. But like, are you saying like that's how we bring the stranger back?
That's how we bring Celeborn back.
Like, you mean somebody needs to punch Celeborn in the head with a wizard staff, and then we'll do a hard jump cut to Halbrand falling on the floor somewhere thousands of miles away?
Okay, a question from the chat room for everybody on the panel. Robin wants to know, do you think the showrunners think they can pull this off?
Oh, I think they can pull it off.
But then they can't, not as a completely different thing.
So I guess the question, I guess, Jason, maybe you have an opinion on this. What does it say about the fidelity to Tolkien is in that every crazy thing we've talked about today, it seems plausible in the context of the show? Is that a good thing? Is it a weird thing? Like, do we just need to rethink our relationship with this show? Because nothing has seemed out of line based on this conversation today. We all believe that any of this stuff could happen.
Sorry, but Bombadil on Goldberry as Melkor and Ungoliant is not okay at all. So
that's a bridge too far.
One thing that is not.
Yeah. I mean, for me, what I would say is yes, after watching season 1 and seeing all of the liberties that were taken, that's why all of these rumors could be true. We hope that most of them aren't, with the exception of Tom and Goldberry being in an episode, and that would be fun. But yeah, how far they've drifted from what we perceive as the lore, and what most Tolkien scholars perceive as the lore and as canon, how far they've drifted, makes all of these rumors believable, which is it a good thing or a bad thing? I don't know.
It's the thing. It's the show, though.
Yeah.
That's just what the show that we're getting, that they're making under the leadership of Simon Tolkien, J.D. Payne, and Patrick McKay.
Mm-hmm.
Cliff, final thoughts on... I'm surprised how many of these leaks we've now spent 2 weeks checking out, and they check out. I'm surprised how many check out. In fact, the only thing we totally poo-pooed today was the horse stuff. Everything else, as insane as it is, seems plausible based on the storylines of season 1. From Adar mentioning Sauron's son, did I kill possibly your child, to, Celeborn being dead and setting up this big dramatic thing. Like,
Well, they have shown a rather brazen willingness to do things like this. I don't think I really don't want to overstate it, but because they've got Simon Tolkien saying, this is okay, go ahead. Now they're really brazen, and it is equally likely as anything that the most outrageous things that have raised our eyebrows and made us, I mean, I've seen nothing in the chat for 2 weeks or more, but people saying, oh, hell no. And that's all I see. And it's still equally likely that it's going to happen. So there we are. And at least the best we can do is get us all prepared for it. We can be mentally prepared for this before it gets like this, you know. But it's also weird that if they were going to bring in a fan favorite character like Bombadil, if they were going to do something really ambitious and cool, and it's the thing that I'm most excited about, really, is the music of the Ainur, the music of the Ainu Lindale, and this creation mythology. If they don't muck it up, it could be one of the most ambitious and really cool things to bring to a Tolkien adaptation. It could be super cool, but most of this stuff is deeply disconcerting, really.
And to respond to Robin in the chat room saying, "Get ready for more than 3 Saurons." If you're keeping up with the conversation, let me just spell it out for you. In this show, we've told you all 3 Saurons. Number 1, Charlie Vickers, who will play the original form of Sauron in the earliest days, all the way up to now. Gavi Singh Shara will play the Anatar, the tall, dark, brooding warlord who wears
you said
a black.
That wasn't confirmed, or
It
did
is
you?
a rumor. I mean, nothing's confirmed, right? We don't know if Charlie's in the prologue. And then the third one is now Celeborn and the actor associated with him. So for the most part, Celeborn will be Sauron for the whole season until the final episode where he is revealed. And those are the 3 Saurons: Celeborn, Anatar, the warlord, and Halbrand / Charlie Vickers /
Okay.
early version.
Anatar is not a warlord. He was not presented as one.
He's
He
the Lord
presented
of Gifts.
himself as the Lord, as well. He was perhaps given that name by the elves, but he presented himself as an elven smith, not a warlord. But okay, let's see what happens.
He was an elven smith and a messenger from the Valar. That was how he presented himself.
Ah, yes.
So is Anatar the
Okay.
one that befriends Durin and the dwarves? Possibly.
Possibly.
I mean, with all the other liberties they've taken, that's not the most egregious, but
Right. I mean, he was the giver of gifts, right?
Yeah.
So I could see, if the Anatar form is the one that everybody loves and he befriends, that kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
All right. Final thoughts based on these leaks. Let's start with Josh. Are you more excited or less excited for season 2? And has this changed your relationship with how you approach season 2?
it has definitely made me a lot more nervous about season 2. There are some things in here that, like, if it happens, I will take it with a grain of salt. There are some things in here that I will be very upset about. There's the one thing in here that I will absolutely rage quit over. But yeah, I didn't really go into season 1 with very high expectations, but really those first 2 episodes did change my mind because they were very well done. The rest of the season kind of fell off a bit for me, and I'm kind of like, I don't have much hope, and I'm not too excited, but like I feel like I have to watch it. So
there you go, Kathy.
Well, since we still don't even have an actual play date, I mean, we don't know for sure that it's going to come in Labor Day weekend like usual with some of their big shows and stuff like that. So since we don't have a date for when it's going to air, they have time to edit and change some of this stuff, which is what I'm hoping for. I'm hoping like, oh, wow, the people really don't like that one. And I hope it's not the horses that they cut out and think that they did us a service.
If you want to cut something out and do us a service, I'm talking to you directly, Amazon producers. do not make Tom Bombadil and Goldberry, Morgoth, and Ungoliant.
Oh yeah,
Kathy, you were there. You were there 20 years ago. Longtime staff member of the OneRing.net. Is this stuff? Are these rumors more dangerous than Arwen at Helm's Deep?
Well, Bombadil and Goldberry as Ungoliant and Melkor, yeah, that's absolutely that's just yes. Right. Putting a person who existed in a place where they didn't necessarily exist is not a very bad thing. Putting somebody who is cast out, and the other one ate herself. I mean, she imploded, and putting them into beloved, weird little characters is just why even do it? I mean, what fever dream? Like I said, I just feel like that's troll bait, and is like the one piece of that somebody on 4chan said, hey, let me take whatever sentence came from the real source of this information and change it to piss you all off. And that's the piss you all off one.
Jason.
Yeah, look, I mean, I'm going to watch it regardless. I'm going to have I'll probably have a party. Y'all can come over. But will it be a hate party or a love party? I don't know.
It'll be a high behind the couch party.
I was just going to say that. You got the right idea. I would rather love watch and not rage watch. I'm glad you said that.
Yeah.
But ultimately, I think, I'm very concerned, but they've got a chance to right the ship. Unfortunately, the larger the ship, the longer it takes to turn it back around to the right direction.
Yeah.
And they've put they've gone in the wrong direction in a lot of ways. And I just hope that they can right the ship. Or at least that season 2 is the beginning of righting the ship.
All right. And before we get Cliff's final words, I just want to say, I want to thank everybody for joining this panel today. This has been a wonderful conversation. And again, the OneRing.net has been sharing leaks for 20 years, and we got yelled at by the studio and by fans 20 years ago. We got yelled at by the fans in the studio 10 years ago when we were leaking Hobbit stuff. And then we got yelled at by Amazon for leaking stuff for season 1. So this is par for the course for us. But I think the strength of this Lord of the Rings community is these variety of opinions. And not every show is going to appeal to every fan. But what we can do through these conversations, whether it's showing our homework and how we reached the conclusions last week, to this week, getting a panel of fans together with a wide variety of perspectives to say, hey, this might be way over the line, or we might be okay with it. I was surprised today how much stuff we think is true and how much we're okay with. And but there are certain lines that just can't be crossed because, again, as fans, we want to be the biggest defenders of the show. We want to tell everybody to watch the show. We don't want 100 million viewers. We want 200 million viewers. We want Lord of the Rings to be the #1 show on television. But hopefully today we've shown some of these leaks, if they are true, and we've given reasons why we think they are true. You got to reverse course, because we cannot defend the indefensible, and then we turn off the show, and you don't just have a 37% completion rate, you have a 25% completion rate, because we've rage quit the show because it's crazy. So I just hope this is enlightening for fans, and I appreciate some of the comments in the chat room of saying how much these last few weeks have been enlightening. We're here to inform. We're here to give every fan a voice and an opinion, and we hope you join our Discord, where the conversation happens all the time, every day, and it's so much fun. And as far as I'm concerned with all these leaks, I actually want most of them to happen. I think they are accurate. I think they are real, and I just love the chaos. Cliff.
Justin, I just wanted to call out Wheatbix is yelling. He says, I yell at Justin at least once a week when he mentions Riverdale. So
yeah.
You've just been called out again.
No no one ever wanted to have a Tolkien adaptation in coming out of the same mouth that was saying, do it like a CW show like that. No, that's not what we want. Anyway, tip of the hat to Robin Smallborough. Tolkien himself stated that consistency of characterization was most important to him. This is why the rumor about Tom Bombadil being altered to be Morgoth is so worrying. Yeah, thank you. There are many reasons to worry, but there's also many reasons to have faith that as an overall fandom, we're still holding ourselves together as a fairly intelligent group of people who have discerning taste in literature and our adaptations. And so it goes. We're going to continue doing that as we always do. And I want to say thank you to my all-star panels, my guests, these wonderful people. There's Josh, Kathy, Jason, and my co-host and co-producer, Mr. Justin. Thank you all. It's been a lengthy show. Thank you very much for sticking with us for 2 hours and 18 minutes. It's been a really delicious conversation, and there'll be a lot more next Tuesday at 5 p.m. Pacific time, right here. Same bat time, same bat channel here at the OneRing.net. If you'd like to follow us on our social media, take the dot out of the net and just find us as at the One Ring Net. And that's, you can follow us. Me personally, I'm at QuickBeam2000, and it's going to be a really great week. Be really, really kind to one another. It's going to be an awesome time. I might be on a flight to visit family next week, but I will be coming into the show at some point for sure. All right, you guys be safe and love one another. Hold each other up. All right. Until next week, we say good night and good luck, or better yet, buenos noches y buena suerte. Bye-bye, everybody.
Some people just want to watch Arda burn.